If you thought Coco Gauff's Wimbledon journey was about powerful winners and flawless tennis, think again. Her latest victory proved something even more dangerous than perfect shot-making. It proved that when the pressure reaches its highest point, Gauff refuses to panic. She refuses to quit. And that mindset has now carried her into the Wimbledon semifinals for the very first time. What looked like another frustrating afternoon quickly turned into one of the biggest statements of her career, and it came against someone who knows her game better than almost anyone else, fellow American Jessica Pegula. From the opening games, it was clear that neither player was going to hand over anything easily. There was extra tension because history was waiting on the other side of the net. Neither Gauff nor Pegula had ever reached the Wimbledon semifinals before, so this wasn't simply another quarterfinal. It was a chance to break new ground on one of tennis' biggest stages. Pegula looked more settled in the early exchanges. Her serve found better rhythm, her ground strokes landed with confidence, and she forced Gauff into uncomfortable positions. Meanwhile, Gauff looked like she was searching for answers. Her first serve wasn't giving her many free points, and a handful of loose errors allowed Pegula to seize control. As the opening set slipped away from Gauff, some fans probably wondered if another Wimbledon opportunity was about to disappear. But if we've learned anything from Coco Gauff over the last few seasons, it's that writing her off after one difficult set is a mistake. She has built a reputation for solving problems during matches instead of letting them define the outcome. That quality separates good players from future champions. Instead of showing frustration, Gauff slowly reset her game. She wasn't suddenly hitting every line or blasting winners from impossible positions. The changes were much more subtle. She became more patient during rallies. She trusted her movement. Most importantly, she stopped rushing points and forced Pegula to earn every game. That shift completely changed the atmosphere on center court. Suddenly, Pegula was no longer dictating every exchange. Instead, she found herself having to hit one extra shot, then another and another. Against one of the fastest defenders in the sport, that's a dangerous place to be. The second set became a fascinating battle of nerves. Gauff still wasn't playing flawless tennis, but her confidence continued to grow. She escaped early pressure on serve, refusing to let small setbacks become major problems. Every successful hold seemed to strengthen her belief that the momentum was beginning to swing. Then came one of the biggest turning points of the afternoon. Pegula stepped up to serve with the score sitting on a knife's edge. Rather than playing freely, she appeared tight and that tension showed. A costly double fault opened the door, and Gauff immediately sensed the opportunity. Great competitors don't need many invitations, and Gauff certainly didn't waste this one. She attacked at exactly the right moment, earning the crucial break that allowed her to level the match. It wasn't built on spectacular highlight reel tennis. It was built on discipline, pressure, and the ability to stay mentally stronger when everything mattered most. That's one of the reasons Gauff has become such a difficult opponent to face. Even when parts of her game aren't firing, she finds another way to compete. Some players depend entirely on one weapon. Gauff has several different ways to stay in matches. If the serve isn't working perfectly, her defense keeps her alive. If the forehand feels shaky, her court coverage buys her extra chances. She constantly forces opponents to hit one more quality shot. That versatility has become one of her greatest strengths. Tennis isn't always about producing your highest level from the first point to the last. Often, it's about surviving the difficult moments long enough for your confidence to return. Against Pegula, Gauff demonstrated exactly that. The deciding set carried a completely different energy from the first. Now it was Pegula searching for solutions while Gauff looked increasingly comfortable. Every service hold by Gauff piled more pressure onto her opponent. The rallies grew longer, the stakes became higher, and every missed opportunity felt even bigger. One of the most impressive aspects of Gauff's performance wasn't necessarily the winners she hit, but the points she refused to lose. Time after time, she chased down difficult balls, extended rallies that looked finished, and forced Pegula into making one more decision under pressure. Those extra few seconds can completely change the psychology of a match. Elite tennis often comes down to tiny margins rather than overwhelming dominance. The statistics between the two Americans were remarkably close in several areas, showing just how competitive the contest really was. Yet the biggest difference wasn't found in raw power or total winners. It came during the biggest moments when break-point opportunities appeared. Gauff stayed calm, trusted her instincts, and capitalized whenever the door opened. Pegula created chances as well, but converting those opportunities under immense pressure proved much harder. That ability to raise her level exactly when it matters has become one of Gauff's defining characteristics. It's why she continues to win matches that seem to be drifting away from her. Instead of allowing frustration to build after losing the first set for the second straight match, she once again treated the scoreboard as only part of the story. Her focus stayed on solving 1 point at a time, and slowly, almost quietly, the match began tilting in her favor. By the closing stages, the confidence that had been missing earlier was impossible to ignore. Gauff was striking the ball with greater conviction, moving freely around the baseline, and making smarter tactical choices. Pegula continued fighting until the final point, but the momentum had completely shifted. Every game became a test of composure, and Gauff consistently passed that test. When the final break arrived, it felt like the reward for 2 hours of relentless persistence rather than one spectacular burst of brilliance. Reaching a first Wimbledon semifinal is a milestone that says a lot about Gauff's continued growth. Grass has often been viewed as the surface where she still had room to improve, yet this tournament has shown a more complete version of her game. She has accepted that every match will present different challenges, and instead of forcing one style of tennis, she has adapted to whatever the moment demands. That flexibility could become her biggest advantage as the tournament reaches its final stages. Of course, there are still areas she will want to sharpen. Her serve can still fluctuate, and there are moments when her forehand loses consistency under pressure. Against the remaining players in the draw, those lapses could become much more costly. But champions are rarely remembered for playing perfect tennis every single match. They are remembered for finding ways to survive when perfection isn't available. Another encouraging sign is Gauff's growing maturity. Earlier in her career, difficult stretches sometimes affected her body language. Now, even after losing a set or missing important shots, she stays composed. That emotional stability allows her to think clearly instead of reacting emotionally, and over the course of a Grand Slam, that can make all the difference. For Pegula, the defeat will certainly sting because she was within touching distance of making history herself. She played excellent tennis for long stretches and showed why she remains one of the most consistent players on tour. However, matches at this level are often decided by a handful of moments, and unfortunately for her, those crucial points favored Gauff. That shouldn't overshadow an impressive tournament, but it will undoubtedly leave her wondering what might have been. Now the attention turns toward the semifinal, where the challenge becomes even greater. Whoever stands across the net will know that allowing Gauff to hang around in a match is risky. She has now produced consecutive comeback victories, proving that an early lead is far from enough to stop her. Opponents may have to beat her not once, but several times over the course of a match before she finally accepts defeat. That's what makes her such a fascinating player to watch. She combines athleticism with resilience, defense with controlled aggression, and youthful energy with increasing experience. Even on days when every shot doesn't feel perfect, she keeps believing that another opportunity is coming. More often than not, she's right. As Wimbledon moves closer to crowning its next champion, Gauff has sent a powerful message to the rest of the field. She's no longer simply the talented teenager everyone predicted would become a star. She's becoming a player who expects to compete for the biggest trophies in tennis, regardless of the surface or the opponent. Whether this remarkable run ends in the semifinals or carries her all the way to the championship match, one thing is already clear. Coco Gauff has added another memorable chapter to her career, and she has done it through resilience, intelligence, and unwavering belief rather than flawless tennis alone. Now we want to hear from you. Was this the performance that convinces you Coco Gauff can lift the Wimbledon trophy? Or do you think her toughest test is still waiting ahead? Share your predictions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Tennis Desk, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest stories, match reactions, and analysis from the world of tennis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.